this is the entire web server farm for the test and development department. We took 3 racks of equipment. We cut it down to about a half rack. What we have is, thanks to our friends at Sun and AMD in the back there, some Sun X4600s. They're 8-way dual-core CPUs with 32 gigabyte of RAM. Everything's connected into our Sian down at the bottom. And the only other thing that's in the rack, besides some switches and things like that, is our license and management server, which I'm connected to at the moment.
So do you virtualize because you want to save on space, or because utilization, or?
Well, so taking 3 racks down to a half rack, we certainly saved on space. We certainly saved on electricity because we're running a lot less servers. We saved on maintenance because we're running, even though my maintenance on each of these servers is more, I'm certainly proportionately less, so I'm saving there. I'm not powering as many servers, so we're saving on electricity. We're not putting out as much heat, so we're saving on cooling. And oh, by the way, we got all these cool management features so we can manage our infrastructure a lot better. What I did was, using some tools from a company called Placespin, I took your physical test dev server, your baseline server. I converted that. I moved that over into the virtual environment. That's called a P2V, physical to virtual. Talk about short names. And I then created from that virtual machine a template. So now every time you come running into my office and say, I need a new web server, I can provision it in under 2 minutes from your baseline. So obviously there's a lot of ways to architect a DR solution, and in a virtual environment it's certainly the same way. When you're setting up a DR site is a perfect time, however, to start evaluating virtualization. Why do I want a room full of servers sitting there waiting for a disaster to happen in my DR site when I can have just a few servers, saving space, electricity, money, all those kinds of things, maintenance, power and cooling and all that, waiting for a disaster to happen, okay? And as a matter of fact, if you look closely at your applications, maybe that 4 CPU, 8 gigabyte machine in a disaster doesn't have to be up at all. Or maybe it needs to be up, but it would be okay if it was running on 1 CPU with 2 gig of RAM. So now I can really compress my DR site. Certainly the easiest way to architect your DR site from a virtual perspective is to just mirror the sands every night. However, remember, especially in a Windows environment, you've got every day you're changing something in that virtual machine, if it's only the memory map or the registry, right? So that means I'm going to be replicating a lot of data every night, okay? Again, using some tools from people like Placement and things who can look inside the virtual machine and only copy over the blocks that have changed, we can keep up to the minute replication between our production site and our DR site and have a much littler pipe between the 2 sites.
So virtualization allows us to have a lot less servers in our data center,
right?
Saving on space, power, cooling, and we don't have to buy as many physical servers as we used to.
Right.
Another thing that I see here is it still allows me to have the management and the administrative control that I need on my virtual servers, much like I would in a physical environment.
Right.
It also seems to have a lot of pretty cool, high availability disaster recovery functionality that is probably somewhat better than if we were trying to do it on a physical server to physical server.
Correct.
Great. So I think this is a good way to go for our x86 or Windows or Linux or Solaris environment.
Right.
How about Unix? Do we have something similar that we can apply to our Unix web farm?
Right. So as a couple of the speakers hinted, most of the Unixes, in fact all that I know of, have some sort of virtualization built into containers in Solaris, or every one of them implemented a little bit differently. There's advantages and disadvantages to each. We could probably do another 25-minute demo on each one of those virtualization techniques. We'll leave that for another time.